Hello, Skittles here, and welcome to my first stab at any kind of gaming review. This is something that I've wanted to do ever since I first joined YouTube, and I am so excited to be bringing this to you now, and I hope you all like it. I even might be making some more in the future. And today we're going to be taking a look at one of Nintendo's hit indie releases, Shantae and the Pirate's Curse for Wii U and 3DS. Now, before we dive headfirst into this review, I'd just like to quickly take the time to familiarise people with the Shantae series, as I'm sure there are some people who don't even know what the series is. I mean, I certainly didn't know what the series was when I saw this game pop up on the Nintendo eShop. So, let's delve deep into this rather obscure series by doing everyone's favourite pastime, a history lesson! Yeah! See? She likes it.
Developed by WayForward Technologies and published by Capcom, the first title in this series, simply known as Shantae, was released in 2002 for the Game Boy Color, which is rather odd considering the Game Boy Advance came out the year prior. Regardless of which, the game received favourable reviews by critics and became an underground hit. It wasn't until 8 years later when the game received its first official sequel, Shantae Risky's Revenge, released for DSiWare. Risky's Revenge was critically acclaimed, scoring high reviews with critics calling it the best game on DSiWare. Which leads us to today, with Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. We take control of our protagonist, Shantae, who is a genie. No, wait, sorry, a half genie. No, a former half genie, who is also a belly dancer, lives in a lighthouse, and uses her hair as a deadly weapon. And fucking hell, what is up with this backstory? Shantae wakes up to the sound of the town exploding. Blimey, is it Thursday already? And so it is Shantae's duty to save the day. As previously mentioned, Shantae's main weapon is her hair. No! Let's test our abilities on these guys with guns who aren't using them for some reason. Maybe they're just not very confident in their aiming abilities. Damn, she's elusive! How is she doing that? She must have some kind of magical properties! I've had enough of this guy and his Stormtrooper impression. Let's kill him. Oh dear. For some reason, whenever these enemies die, they explode. I wonder if that kind of thing happened in real life. I'm sorry, Mrs. Richardson, but your husband has just passed away. Everybody duck and cover! Later in the level, we get a boss fight with this guy. I keep forgetting his name, so I'll just call him Mr. Scruffy Pants. The fight itself is relatively simple, and Mr. Scruffy Pants goes down like a sack of lead potatoes. But our victory is short-lived, as Mr. Scruffy Pants is now the leader of the cities. Somehow. And just when things couldn't get any worse, Killer Bathtub! And then Risky Boots shows up, the main antagonist of the series. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention she's the main antagonist of the series. Risky shows up looking for a lost gear, only to discover that the pirate equivalent of Hitler is going to return and take over the world. And it's now up to Shantae and Risky to team up and put an end to Pirate Hitler, because you know the old saying, the enemy of my enemy is still my enemy, but we're just under a mutual agreement that there are people in the world who are more evil than us. And now that we got all the introduction bullshit out of the way, we can now get on to the meaty part of this full-course meal. The game consists of travelling to 6 different islands, each one containing a dungeon with a boss at the end, as well as a special item which helps you progress through the rest of the game. This, combined with the open exploration and hidden collectibles, makes Shantae and the Pirate's Curse a Metroidvania game. What's that? You don't know what a Metroidvania game is because you were still living in your dad's left testicle in 1997? The term Metroidvania originated from Castlevania Symphony of the Night, which combined the free-roaming 2D exploration and unlockable abilities from the Metroid franchise, and of course the combat and lore of Castlevania, as well as adding some of its own RPG elements. From then on, any game that had 2D exploration, whether it's inspired from Metroid or Symphony of the Night, would be categorized as a Metroidvania game. Which then bears the question, is Shantae and the Pirate's Curse a good Metroidvania game? Yes! It's very good! Of course it's good! Look at that frogfish! I don't know if you know this about me, but Metroidvania games are my equivalent of crystal meth. Games like Dust and Elysian Tale, Guacamelee, and even Metroid Prime are all games I've had a crippling addiction to, and Shantae and the Pirate's Curse is no exception. Hell, even as I'm writing this review, I've been playing through both Symphony of the Night and Axiom Verge. I'm starting to think I have problems. The key aspect of any good Metroidvania game is exploration, and this is something that Shantae does rather well. There's plenty of hidden areas to find along with many hidden collectibles. There are cackle bats which drop dark magic on death. I'll talk about those later, so just keep those in the back of your mind for now. There's the Metroidvania staple power-ups which I found in each world and are used for essential progression, such as the pirate hat, which can be used as a parachute. Whee! a cannon which you can use to quadruple jump, a cutlass to do a Shovel Knight-esque pogo attack, a pair of boots to run super fast with the cutlass, and the pistol which is absolutely useless outside of solving puzzles. Also scattered around the world are heart squids. Did I mention that this game can be a bit weird? Not only do these heart squids look absolutely fucking adorable, but they're also like the heart pieces from Zelda, but they function slightly differently. As we all know in Zelda, collecting 5 heart pieces turns them into 1 heart container, which gives you extra health. But in Shantae, as soon as you collect the required 4 heart squids, they don't automatically give you health. Instead, you need to take them to the Squidsmith, which I must say is both hilarious and adorable, where she melts down the heart squids to increase your maximum health. Wait, what? Why? Oh, hey, look, that's me dying.
And while we're on the subject of Zelda, the heart squids aren't the only thing that Shantae borrows from Zelda. As Shantae peeks into her dressing room, silently taking photos of Zelda's gorgeous bum and... Sorry, what were we talking about?
As I mentioned a few paragraphs ago, each new area contains an explorable dungeon with a new item that helps you progress through the rest of the game, which is par for the course in Metroidvania games, but with the inclusion of dungeons which contain an item to help you explore the rest of the dungeon and is also used to defeat the boss, makes Shantae and the Pirate's Curse feel more Zelda-y than Metroid-y. I'd call it a Zelda-vania game, but that wouldn't roll off the tongue quite as well. And speaking of which, the bosses in this game are... kinda lackluster. None of them are overly memorable and their designs are completely generic, such as Giant Eyeball, Giant Spider, Giant Dragon, and whatever the fuck this is supposed to be. Oh yeah, and if you want any kind of challenge from these bosses, don't use the monster milk with the super pike ball, because if you do, they might as well just line up, bend over, and timidly ask for it gently. Well, to be honest, there are 2 bosses that I actually liked. The first one being the aforementioned Pirate Hitler, who acts as the final boss. No, I'm not going to put a spoiler warning on that because it's about as much of a spoiler as saying, the good guys win. The Pirate Master is always talked about during the dialogue exchanges with Risky and Shantae as a big evil threat looming over everything, but he was never given any sort of visual representation until the final part of the game. So when he does eventually show his ugly mark, it's made all the more intimidating and impactful. And the boss fight itself is very climactic, because halfway through the fight, he takes away all your special abilities that you've been acquiring up to that point. It's a very simple, yet effective way of ramping up the difficulty, and it feels very satisfying and rewarding when you finally defeat the Pirate Master with naught but your freshly shampooed hair. Ah, shit! The other boss that I quite liked is the Squid Baron. Not so much for the fight itself, it's not a terrible boss fight, but it's certainly not something I'd write home to, but rather because of Squid Baron's personality. Near the start of the game, you can actually talk to Squid Baron, reminiscing about his days from the previous game. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, he was also in Risky's Revenge. His dialogue is very comedic, making self-aware fourth wall breaking jokes that I found very entertaining. In fact, that's a good way to describe this game as a whole. It has a lot of personality. Everything from the dialogue to the visual design to the animation has a lot of charm and character to it. My favorite one is where Shantae is at full health and she does this adorable little dance. Another is whenever she's crouching, she starts shaking a little booty. Seriously, Shantae is like the fucking cutest protagonist ever. I love her so much. I just want to pinch her little chubby cheeks. And let's not forget the soundtrack, which has been masterfully composed by the one, the only, the composer of Shovel Knight himself, Jake Kaufman. The soundtrack is probably my favourite part of the game, and it's some of Mr. Kaufman's best work. If I had to pick a favourite track, hands down, it would be the boss fight music. I know I talked shit on the bosses before, but this one music track made up for it. This is the kind of boss music that every game should strive to have. Seriously, put this music with a boss fight from any other game and it's guaranteed to sound 100 times more awesome. And don't get me started on the final boss music, or else I'll need a fresh pair of undies.
So if you haven't guessed already, I fucking love this game. Everything from the characters, to the dialogue, to the presentation, to the soundtrack is all wonderfully constructed, the gameplay is as fun as old bollocks, and everything feels tight and smooth and leaves you wanting more, like a sausage roll in bondage gear. And you know what? This game is probably going to be my #1 game of the year. I love it that much. However, there is something about the game that's been bothering me for a bit.
For a family-friendly title, the game actually has a lot of suggestive imagery. Many of the female characters tend to wear a lot of questionable clothing and have very prominent cleavage. It's not a complaint, just an observation. And this is no less obvious during that one section in Tanline Temple where,
oh, good lord!
Yet somehow this doesn't affect the game's age rating, only listing very mild violence on the Nintendo eShop. It just seems a bit weird that Nintendo, the squeaky clean family-friendly company, is okay with letting this kind of shit slide. But anyway, back to the review at hand. Shantae's defeated all the bosses and has prevented the Pirate Master from resurrecting. Except he does anyway because the plot demands it. He nicks Risky Boots and fucks off to the town palace, which he turns into his own personal palace, homeowner's insurance be damned. And now comes the final level, where Shantae must traverse the Pirate Master's palace. This level is a true challenge and will test every skill and ability you've been honing up until now. It is really hard. Easily the hardest part of the whole game. I tell you this now because I know there are some people in the world who are less patient than I. So after 3 controllers and 2 broken windows, we finally get to the Pirate Master, the final boss. Now, let's just stop here for a moment. Remember that dark magic I mentioned before? The one that drops from the Cacklebats? Well, it's more than just an arbitrary completion score. Before Risky got herself nicked, she told Shantae to find all the dark magic. Depending on how much dark magic you have, you can get 2 different endings. One if you've collected all the dark magic, and another if you haven't. If you beat the Pirate Master and don't have all the dark magic, he just fucks off to take over the world, Risky also fucks off, and everything miraculously goes back to normal like nothing ever happened. In short, it's a shit ending, but that's good because it provides the incentive to get the much better true ending. If you fight the Pirate Master and have all the dark magic, you get a second phase to the fight, Shantae gets a magic power spag, and you actually get to properly defeat the Pirate Master. Shantae and Risky leave on good terms, Mr. Scruffy Pants loses ownership of the town, and everything goes back to normal until the release of Half Genie Hero.
Thank you everyone so much for watching this review. It took far longer than anyone would ever expect, and if you haven't already, go play Shantae and the Pirate's Curse right now. It is seriously really good. It's on Wii U, 3DS, I believe it's also on Steam as well, so you lucky PC users can play it as well. And again, thank you all for so much for watching this review. It's been really fun, and if you want to see more reviews from me like this in the future, leave it in the comments below. Can't guarantee it'll happen, but you know, gotta try, gotta make a living somehow, right? But anyway, my name's Skittles, and I'll see you next time.